Okay, we're into Street Talk this week then. And yeah, so as we were just saying, the schedules were all up all over the place. We've actually got 4 episodes to talk about today, all of which took place 4 nights in a row, didn't it? We got Wednesday, which was an hour, and then Thursday, Friday, rare appearance from a Saturday. All of those with 3 were half an hour, so it kind of builds up to being less than the normal Street Talk. But I quite enjoyed having an extra or an episode of Coronation Street to look forward to every day. How did you find going back to half an hour?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't. It was. I don't know. I don't understand how you can ask me. Like, nothing's normal anymore. It doesn't make any difference. It's all different.
I thought, the Thursday and Friday episodes were clearly 2 halves of the same episode, because that's when it ended with the cliffhanger with Teddy being hit by the car. But Saturday's episode was seemingly written as a standalone half-an-hour episode, and I was kind of getting through to about a third of the episode thinking, well, they're still having their breakfast, don't they realise this is only a half-an-hour one? But they then just kind of jumped to midnight almost. I thought it was quite good. And then we didn't have a Corrie yesterday, but then we got today, tomorrow, Wednesday, and then we're going to have time off again. But yeah, I've quite enjoyed having it. But what we didn't have this week, really much of at all, was the Max Streamism story, did we? We were all gearing ourselves up for giant explosions and drama at New Year from Griff and the Racists, but didn't even get barely a puff from them.
No,
puff of smoke.
Very tired, like me.
You're going to be giving this your all today.
Listen, we said to you, listeners, that over Christmas we would still deliver podcasts to you for your entertainment. Quality. But I never said they would be good ones. I never said that my participation would be any more than I would say about 25%.
Well, we're going to start off with the Reed in the Red storyline. This is Reed in the Red, and is Teddy dead? Because it's got a bit of a rhyme into it, isn't it? Yeah. Poor old Teddy. All Ted is on Coronation Street. Last year on Coronation Street began with Ted getting hit by a car. Ted, old man Ted. Yeah, and this one ended with Teddy getting hit by another car. So it just adds to the list of Teddys who have met unfortunate ends on Coronation Street. You got Gail's dad Ted. You got Rita's husband Ted. You don't want to be a Ted on Coronation Street, I tell you. So that's going to be the main bulk of the discussion, because that seems to be where that was what the New Year's stuff was centred around. Then we got the Todd storyline. I've got a couple of options here, as you can see.
Yeah.
Yes.
What are you waiting for? Do not wait for a reaction from me.
Okay, I'm not going to be tapping your knees with no hammers today. Todd checks out the dentist's tonsils. Ugh. Yeah, bit of a snog there. Also, Widower's Peak, I thought, because... Did you get that one? I didn't know.
What do you mean?
You like how, Laurence became a widower by allegedly, apparently not, pushing his old Lindsay off the Alps. So, Widower's Peak, I thought, kind of goes with that.
I'd like him a lot more if he did actually do it, but yes.
But you don't think he did. Summergate comes next, which is the surrogate storyline. Yeah. Bad Reception. Yeah, that's about Roy being very ungrateful with his mobile phone.
Good one.
Thanks. Barter Barlow.
Yeah, it's silly, man.
Peter, and then we do have a bit more Max Streamism by the end as well. Right, Gemma, I'm going to be passing over to you, because you said that you volunteered your services to synopsise the Stephen Reed storyline.
I didn't. I said I don't care about Todd and Laurence.
You'd rather do Stephen than Todd and Laurence. So let's rewind our memories back to Wednesday. And what naughty shenanigans and general skulking about has Stephen Reed been up to in the past week?
Well, on Wednesday, Sarah's still nagging Uncle Stephen because she would like her money, thank you very much, because she said he'd give them money for the business. And he says, yeah, it's fine, I have got the money, I just need a few more days. And so Carla sees him in the cafe and she says, thank you so much for that advice that you gave me the other day when I was minding my own business in the pub and you came and nosed over my shoulder and told me I had done my spreadsheet wrong. And she tells him he clearly knows what he's talking about when it comes to business. So... she's so chuffed with his help. He sees Elaine, sits down with her, and she's embarrassed because she's pulled out of the loan, and she thinks it might have made things awkward between them. You think? And he says, don't worry, it's fine, I don't mind at all. Stephen tells Elaine, she says, he gets excited and he says, actually, do you know what? I know that you said you didn't want to give me the money, but it's such a great business opportunity that I think you should invest anyway, and you should invest directly through them. You don't need to involve me. Why don't you invest like that? And then the show then proceeds to completely misunderstand what an investment is.
How do you mean?
Because she starts talking about loan terms.
Oh, well, I don't understand it anyway.
And he says, if it's a great business opportunity, you invest in it. You don't loan the money, because then you get a stake of the profits. If you're loaning the money, you only ever get your interest back.
Well, she also gets him involved in it properly. I don't understand this. Like, if I had a load of money, if only, and somebody said, "Oh, this would make a really good investment," I think I'd be too chicken to do it, because I don't
And that's
understand
why
this
we'll
kind
always
of thing
be
at all.
poor.
It's like if I had a load of money and somebody said, "Oh, you should play a game of poker," I'd be like, "Nope."
Well, that's not an investment, is it? That's just asking.
Could be if you're lucky.
I don't think it's luck.
But anyway, Elaine is obviously a lot more business savvy than me, and says, "Yeah, I'll go for it. Actually, maybe."
I don't know if she's business savvy, but
easily persuaded.
He's excited, and he's just, he's portraying himself as this big. Well, actually, I don't know. I don't know if I'd trust his business sense if I was Elaine, but she does anyway.
Well, that's because she's head over heels goo-goo with him, isn't she?
In the factory, Carla annoys Sarah by telling her the toilets need cleaning. And then
I love this scene.
Sarah goes off on her completely. She's sick of it, and she kind of like goes to that dizzying, when you're like having a rant and you just get excited and carried away. But she's ranting at
I think both
Carla.
of us know exactly what that's like, having done this podcast for so long.
Well, yeah, you guys all have heard that many times. Except none of the times so far we've got ourselves fired from it. But
No.
who knows what will happen?
Well, Sarah proceeds to throw herself and Michael right under the bus here, doesn't
Well,
she?
she's like, you know what? You don't know anything about business. You just inherited this business, and it's nearly gone under numerous times. Everyone's scared of you. You're a dinosaur. You don't know what's going on. And Carla says, "Oh, you're only talking to me like this because you and Michael have got your secret business. You think I don't know about that?" Well, I do. And then Sarah says, "Yeah, that's right. I've got a brand new business, and it's going to be amazing." And I love the way she has absolutely no shame, or she doesn't connect at all. The fact that she's like, You only get your back factory because you inherited the money off your husband. My Uncle Stephen's going to give me £10,000. Is that my own business?
Yeah.
Anyway, she says to all the factory workers, "Come with me, join me. You don't want to work for her, you want to work for me." And everyone's sitting there pretending they don't know who she is.
I love this scene.
Michael's standing next to her looking completely shell-shocked. I love that so much.
She just takes him down with her, doesn't she?
She's reckless. She's excited. She feels like she's got one up over Carla for the first time. And to be honest, Carla was treating her a bit like crap. But also
she has been.
What does Sarah do?
I refuse to believe that Sarah brings anything to that factory. Ever since she's kind of somehow worked her way up into management of it, and I can't even remember how that happened, but I don't think it was her business acumen that got her there. I've been thinking, what is she doing there? She's not fit to lick Carla's high heels. And I know Carla can be a bit of an arse, like you said, but Sarah, she just feels like a total imposter there. So when she started having a go at Carla and sort of tearing her a new one, I was like, "You bloody idiot."
Who do you think you're talking to?
But then what made it more delicious for me was that some of the stuff that she was saying to Carla, she's like, she's got your number actually, Carla, because she did only get the factory by inheriting it, and she has been a bit useless recently. Sarah kind of brings out the fact that, oh, the factory's going under every 5 minutes. Yeah. And it's like, yes, it is. Yeah. That's all the factory storylines have been for the past 10 years.
Sorry, we don't have any other storylines, Sarah.
It was almost a little bit fourth wall breaky, wasn't it? Sarah's on the noseness of how she's trying to take down Sarah. But Carla was just kind of sitting there or standing there, kind of just letting Sarah unload everything that she's got on her, just so she can ceremoniously sack her afterwards.
No, she doesn't ceremoniously.
Oh no, she goes to, doesn't she?
Well, I loved how Carla was actually enjoying this, because she's like, well, dig your own grave, my love, carry on.
And everybody watching in the background as well, like you had it was there,
Sally.
Beth was there, Sally was there, then in the background you had Dirk and some of the other non-speaking extras as well, just like oh my god, it was brilliant. I absolutely loved this scene. I just feel really bad for Michael that he barely opened his mouth
And
around
he
the
was
whole
standing
thing, and he
next to
didn't
her.
have a job by the end of it.
Like a goldfish.
Yeah.
And Sarah's like, right, well, we resign, don't we, Michael? Let's go. And Michael's like, uh-oh. They go outside and Michael's like, I've got a kid. I need money. What have you done? And I was saying to you, what does he need money for? He lives with his parents.
Mm.
What is,
He's got a kid.
He goes, oh, I need it for nursery. Well, you ain't got a job. You shouldn't go to nursery anymore, does she? Anyway, Sarah tells Gail, she's like, Mum, I've quit. I just need to get that money off Uncle Stephen.
Mummy, good news. I quit my job.
Yeah.
You clever thing. No, Gail's like, what the hell?
Gail's worried because she knows the truth.
She knows that Stephen
Doesn't have any money.
Has no cash.
She tells Sarah all of this off screen, and then we find out in the next scene that, you know, Sarah finds Stephen and says, Mum told me everything, you haven't got any money. And she's obviously a bit upset because she literally asks, she's like, right, are you sure you have this money? And he's like, yes, I totally do. I'm so rich. And then the next time he sees her, they see each other, she's like, I quit my job because of you, and now I'm unemployed and broke.
She's such an idiot. I love it.
I love how stupid she is. Yeah, it's great. And I kind of want to see Adam's face when Sarah goes home and explains everything that's happened that day to her.
Yeah.
Because this is also awkward for him because he's, you know, Peter's his, oh God, what is his uncle?
Relation.
And Carla's always round number one.
And the lawyer's office has been going through some financial struggles of its own this year since one of the members dropped dead. I know he's got Dee Dee there, but I don't think she's done much to bring in the Reddies yet. So
yeah, it's all looking a bit dire, isn't
yeah.
it? You're gonna have to cut back
silly
on
move there, Sarah,
hair cream.
But the thing with Sarah is, I still think that it's almost like the program makers don't really want us to think that she's mega thick. I mean, she's not on Rosie Webster levels of ditziness, is she? I think we're supposed to be championing her some of the time. It's like we've always known, and this just shows it. It's like they did it with Kate, didn't they? Kate Connor, all those years where she was being a spoiled brat. But it was
seemingly no awareness at all that even on the part of the show that she's a spoiled brat.
Yeah, but then eventually they cottoned on. Hang on a minute, everyone's saying that Kate's spoiled, and then they made her, and they really played into that into her final year. So yeah.
Sarah's dangerous because
Amusing.
she doesn't realise how stupid she is. That's the thing. If you understand your limitations, you'll create, you won't create as much chaos as she does.
I think she's just got skills elsewhere, and I really think that Tina O'Brien is a fab actress, and Sarah Louise is. I'm not going to say she's one of my favourite characters, but I really got a lot of time for Sarah Lou, so I can kind of gently take the Mickey out of her.
It's far more fun to have her like this than it would be to have her be another little Carla.
Yeah, I just think that she needs to find her niche somewhere else, and I think I don't know what it is. It's because when you're a character in Coronation Street, and if you've grown up into it and you've got to stay on the show, you've got to find you don't have many jobs to choose from, do you? And it's like, what should we do with Sarah? I don't know, put her into the factory. She's just not suitable there, but I don't know where else she could go, honestly.
What happened with her and Adam having a baby?
Yeah, she did just give up work altogether.
Just be a mum.
She did. Remember, she worked at the Rovers for a little bit as well. Everyone kind of forgot about that.
I forgot about that.
She was a bit short behind the bar, I remember. But
she was caught short behind the bar.
Not like Sally Webster. I don't know where her strengths lie, but I'd like this to be the end of her time in the factory, but I've got a feeling it won't be. Not.
Michael's telling her that oh no, we've got past that, haven't we? Elaine finds Stephen and says, right, I thought about it, and I do want to invest in Sarah's business, but I'll go through you because you're a business person.
Yeah, so she's going to give him the money, and then he's going to give it to Sarah Louise and Michael, apparently, because of his great business mind.
So he's managed to manipulate her very quickly from, I'm not giving it to you anymore because I was going to give it to you because we're friends. I think it's getting too complicated, so I'm not going to give you the money, to, oh, I will give you the money because it's not because we're friends, it's because it's a business idea.
Yes.
And what's the business again?
I can't actually remember.
Is it still the making tiny t-shirts the same as a growing
I
t-shirt?
don't know. That's what you said
That's
last
lame.
week in the podcast, and I don't remember them mentioning that on the show at all. But you might be right. I don't know. I don't know. Something clothy.
Later on, Stephen told Sarah, so she and Michael find a lane in the market, and they're like, "Hooray! Thank you so much for investing." And she says, "No, I'm not investing anymore. Bad news. People whose house I was going to buy have pulled out."
It felt like on this episode there were a few jumps where we should have seen people explaining things or things happening that we didn't.
Yeah,
so
I
we
know.
didn't see Gail properly explaining to Sarah about Stephen not having any money. We didn't see Elaine finding out about her buyers pulling out.
We didn't even have her in the back of a
Or
scene
Sally's,
or
I mean.
something, like on the phone, like looking upset. We didn't even need to
Not
hear.
as far as I knew.
It just
no,
felt
I
like
might
a
have
bit of a
missed
jump,
but,
didn't it? So,
yeah.
everybody.
And this wasn't even a half an hour episode. You had a whole hour that you could have done this in.
Everybody who's sold a house or bought a house in the last 2 years having flashbacks and PTSD from this.
So Elaine's house is ready to sell, but she was going to buy someone else's house and they've pulled out, so she hasn't got anywhere to go. That's right,
Yes,
isn't it?
that's right.
Right, okay.
So and it looks like it was very, very imminent because she's talking like, you know, it's all a done deal. But really, in England, because I know Scotland's got different rules, but in England, at any point, anybody can just say, "No, I'm not doing it anymore," and that would be it. I'm afraid.
It didn't feel before this week that she was literally in boxes ready to go, but
I know, but Michael, you can be in boxes ready to go, and it falls through.
yeah, I know
that.
you can. I know. It just felt like it came out of nowhere. Like, I'm done. I'm moving out. Good riddance, old house. I think because we never saw her old house.
Well,
we never saw anywhere she was going to move to or anything.
She did mention a few weeks ago that she was going to be moving by Christmas.
Oh, did she?
Yeah,
Oh, I
because
missed that.
I were like, I don't think you are.
Okay, fine.
So, great. So now it's fallen through again. So Michael and Sarah have now lost 2 rounds of funding in the space of an hour. So what to do now? Go back grovelling to Carla, I guess. And Carla's like, "No, sorry, I'm not hiring you back. It's too late anyway because I've got a replacement for you, Sarah. It's somebody who's much better at business than you are. It's your Uncle Stephen."
He knows how a spreadsheet works.
And Sarah's really mad, and she kind of insinuates that this was all a grand master plan of Stephen to steal her job. But it's like, Sarah, you did this to yourself, love.
Even
what
some
are you
of the other
talking
factory
about?
workers were like, "Oh, Stephen, you jumped into Sarah's job. You would just jump into her grave as quick." And it's like, literally, I know that things often do happen a bit faster on Coronation Street than in the real world, but you know,
He didn't plan this at all.
there was this job going there, and nature abhors a vacuum, and
Yep.
Stephen just got stuck right into it.
Exactly. But yeah, I don't know how she's got the gall to insinuate that he's done something bad to her, because she's the one that mouthed off and resigned.
Yeah.
So she's upset. He's taken a job, and now she can't do her business plan. So Stephen meets up with Elaine again because he feels a bit guilty about this, and he says to her, "Why do you need to cancel this whole thing? Couldn't you just live somewhere else temporary while you look for another house?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't want to spend money on rent. I don't have anywhere to go." And he says, "Why don't you go and live with Sally and Tim again?" And she's like, "I don't think Sally would like that." And everyone at home's like, "Yep, because you're a massive cock block." Carla introduces Stephen to the workers, and they're all hostile to him because he's taken Sarah's job. And he's like, "Oh, I need someone to help me with this computer system. We don't have that in Canada or Milan." And Sally's like, "Oh, I'll help you. I'll come and do it for you." And she's sitting at the computer tapping away, and he's like, "You're so amazing at computers. You're so nice to Elaine. You know, she wouldn't say this to you, but she's really upset about not having anywhere to live. If only there were relatives." And Sally's like, oh, okay.
Wonder she's more like, "Oh, anything you say, Stephen," because she's
Well,
so
she kind
thrilled
of-
with herself that she's
well,
showing
she-
him how to turn the computer on or whatever.
Yeah, she's pleased with herself, but her face falls a little bit when she hears him say that. But then I think she's thinking to herself, "Oh, I don't look horrible in front of Stephen. I better ask her to live with us." So she does. She offers her a place to stay for the time being. Then Elaine meets up with Stephen in the pub, and she's like, "Oh, good. You know, the money's all here in my account now because apparently this was
this is how it works.
The day of moving, and now I've got my cash."
Yeah, I think we just have to scroll quickly past this, and I don't think
the thing is, if they tried to do a proper story about moving house, it would become a horror movie, and it would be so boring and intricately planned. Like you know what I mean. Like there'd be so many stupid, tiny, minute, annoying things that would happen. It would take them, well, literally a year to get through the whole storyline. So they're not going to do a proper moving house storyline.
She's just got the money, deal with it.
She's got the money, deal with it. So she says, "Oh, I'll give you the money so you can invest in that business." And Jenny's there, and she's making pointed comments to Stephen. "Oh, look, you look cozy," because she's still jealous. And then Elaine's like, "Oh, I've got some kind of I've got to log into my app, and I've got my memorable word. It's something to do with fish. Here's £12,000. Now, to me, this rings alarm bells. This does. This rings alarm bells. Elaine's going to get murdered by Stephen, and he's going to be standing over her body with the app trying to work out what fish it is.
Yeah, it's all bizarre. I mean, usually in Coronation Street, people can just guess people's passwords from nothing.
I can just imagine at Elaine's funeral, Stephen going up to Tim going, "I'm so sorry about your mom. Did she have any
what was her favourite fish?
Kind of fish? Because I was just thinking about going to the aquarium and in remembrance of her."
I think that her password is flounder. Which some people would describe this what the story's doing at the moment.
So she transfers him £12,000. Then Jenny gets a worrying phone call. It's from Teddy, and he's coming back from Canada, and he's got new information about Leo. He can't possibly tell her over the phone. He's got to do it in dramatic fashion in person. And Steve's listening in, and he looks very worried. Good job, Todd Boyce can look worried, isn't it? It's his main talent so far. On Thursday, Stephen
fish over a bin and swing a bin round as good as anyone else.
It's not a high percentage of his role on the cobbles.
That's not. Mostly what he does need to do is just lurk in the background and look worried
and suck his cheeks in. He's got very lovely cheekbones, so that's helpful. On Thursday, Stephen catches Jenny cleaning the windows.
Those windows and the pavement outside the Rovers, they've never been cleaned quite so much as they have in this past fortnight. It feels like Jenny's permanently doing it.
And they do clean those a lot more, don't they?
Yeah.
We've never cleaned ours since we moved in it.
Well, I'm worried about the state of the street outside of the cabin, because that used to be Norris's go-to, didn't it? He's always sweeping out there.
Well, anyway.
It's probably a cesspit now. That's why nobody ever goes in there anymore.
Trying to jump over piles of rubbish.
Yeah.
So, Stephen asks Jenny, "Has Teddy been in touch again?" And she says no. He goes and talks to Sarah about funding stuff, and then when he comes back, Jenny's gone inside, and Carla says, "Look, we need a meeting." I love the fact, and you just find it really hilarious that, like, Steve's like, "Oh my God, I need to make money. I don't know how. I don't know what I'm going to do." And then he's like, "I know, a job."
He has tried getting jobs before.
I know, but do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I just fell into this job because my niece is an idiot.
Yeah, after his tragic motorcycle accident,
he probably
with
gave
the
up a little bit,
uninsured motorbike, it's like that's scarred me for getting any kind of employment.
So later on, Jenny tells Stephen Teddy's told her he's coming back.
Yes.
Because he wants to tell the news face to face.
Yes, it was in the country now.
And Stephen's like, "Do you need any support? I'll help you." And she's like, I can't remember what she says, but
he's just a massive creep, isn't he? Like, why nobody has suspected him at all up to this point is anyone's guess.
Then Adam comes into the factory to see Sarah because apparently she hasn't told him that she's not got a job there anymore. And he tells Stephen that he's given 6 fellas a call, and they said some very interesting things, which I guess was a bit of a cliffhanger, because we're supposed to think, oh, they've mentioned that he was working for them or something, but no.
This all confused me a little bit. So what actually happened on the day was that Stephen crashed his motorbike, didn't he, when he was trying to cycle away from Elaine. But then he told Adam and everyone else that one of their bikes cycled into him when he was just standing outside on the pavement. It wasn't a cycle bike, Michael. No, a motorbike, I mean. And so we're led to... So Adam, when he went to try and take 6 fellas to court, was under the impression that one of their motorbikes crashed into Stephen. But that's not what happens. I'm just a little bit confused about this. So at the moment, I'm watching this thinking, what are they saying they're going to settle out of court about?
Well, that's what Adam tells them. They want to settle out of court, but they want to speak to you in person. So he grits his teeth and he's like, "Oh, great." Then
yeah, he's not very happy about this because he was trying to stop Adam from talking to Six Fellas completely, and he's been avoiding phoning them, hasn't he? Because he's not been completely honest about the circumstances of his accident. But it all is kind of swept under the carpet very neatly by the end of the episode, to be honest. Sorry, back to you. I'm interrupting you again, aren't I? Over to you.
It's all right. Stephen loiters around Rosamond Street and trying to keep an eye on the Rovers and also the market because he wants to spot Teddy before he speaks to Jenny. And then he sees Teddy by a stall and he bumps into him pretending just so he could talk to him. But Teddy's like really, really drunk. And it looks as though Teddy's discovered that Leo didn't even get on the plane. And he's got a friend, conveniently, that knows how to triangulate mobile phone devices.
Don't we all have a friend like that?
And also, it's not at all a problem in his job that he can just do this for a mate. It turns out the text that Leo supposedly sent came from this area, this street, not Canada. But he's like, "I'm not talking to you about this. I want to talk to Jenny." And Stephen panics and he's like, "You really don't want to do that." And Teddy's like, "You know what happened to Leo, don't you? You got something to do with this." And Stephen's like, "Oh no, oh my God." And then
I've been rumbled.
He's like, "You'll get it. You'll get it eventually." And Teddy's like, "Well, I'm going to see what Jenny has to say." And then he steps backwards into the path of an oncoming van, which is speeding down that road with nowhere to go, as you pointed out.
I wrote van when it was the nose, but I think it was more of like a Jeep kind of 4x4.
No, I think it wasn't a van.
Yeah, I don't get why it was going so fast. I mean, I think they did point out that it wasn't going super speedy, but it didn't have much of a chance to get its speed up, did it? Because, you know, the market
blocks
the road off anyway. So where has it been coming from? I don't really know, but it's enough to knock him out cold. I don't know how you can
speed down Rosamond Street because it's not that long, is it?
No, it's really not. Yet it seems to be
hotspot for accidents.
It really is a bit of a hotspot there, isn't it?
That's probably why the council refused to put speed bumps in. They're like, "Look, if you get killed on Rosamond Street, I'll run over it. It's your own fault."
That's where Gary got hit the other year, wasn't it? When they had the first post-COVID Coronation Street stunt. He pushed mannequin dummy Sarah out of the way.
I want to know what the bus route's doing.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Rosamond Street bus stop. That they get picked up there to go to school and to go to town. And now the end of the road's blocked off.
All because of this market, which seems to have been thrown together. The idea across the course of like one episode back at the beginning of December. Maria saying, "Yeah, we should have the market." Anyway, and next day there's a market going on. That's how I remember it anyway. And it's still going. I don't understand. Why do people keep going to this market?
That's why it's got to be called. That's why she wanted it to be called the winter market, not a Christmas market.
Yeah. I don't know what the continuing appeal of this is. It seems to be one of those kind of markets that you say, "Okay, we'll go to it once, see what kind of tack they're selling. Oh, how nice, a little bit of a wooden carving or a little nutcracker here. Or I get a cold coffee in a cardboard cup. Lovely. Don't need to see it again." But it seems like people who live on Coronation Street, that seems to be the main hangout spot for them, doesn't it?
That's because they sell drinks and food.
And it's outside and it's cold.
They're absolutely bloody sick to death of speed dial and the bistro. You're forgetting, Michael. You saying it's cold, but actually this was September.
What? No. They filmed this in, I'm going to say, early November. They're going to wet their pants when the precinct opens in a couple of weeks, and they'll have a whole new place to go.
It's a very mild winter here.
Yes.
So I wouldn't mind standing outside eating a sausage in a bun. Friday. It's still the same day. Don't be fooled. Jenny and Stephen rush over. It's not dead yet. At the hospital, Stephen's telling the police that he just stepped into the way of the car, and the police are like, "Well, that's what the driver said," and they say, "Oh, well, it looks like he's going to be okay. We'll have to put him in an induced coma to protect his brain." And then we need to know what the next of kin contact details are. And Jenny's like, "Yeah, I'll give you Leo's number." It's like, what? Can you not mention, even in passing here, you probably won't get hold of him because he's...
No, I think she did mention that. I think she said that, and then she says, "I'll give it to you anyway," even though like nobody's been able to get in touch with him. Also, Jenny in this scene says, "Oh, I didn't realise that Teddy was a drinker." It's like he was a little tipsy once, and already Jenny's tarred him with the same brush as Peter Barlow and that lot. Come on, it's Christmas, Jenny. It's
Christmas, and you own a pub. So, Jenny stays with Teddy, and Stephen's loitering because
He says, Jenny's like, why are you here? And he said, "I'm always good in a crisis." Usually he's the one causing the crisis.
Yeah. Jenny leaves the two of them alone for a bit to go and do something. And then we have the classic... I love these scenes. These are just brilliant.
Just reminded me of Pat Phelan craning over Seb's bed.
Stephen should have hovered over Teddy's, gone, "It's me, Leo. I'm your son.
I've come to visit you, but I can't stay."
Stephen's like, sorry, mate. Last thing I want to do is kill you, but I kind of have to. I didn't mean to kill your son. It was an accident. And then I don't know,
I can't remember how much he exactly gives away.
Well, he says it was an accident what happened to Leo, and then he holds on to this breathing tube. I don't know what he thinks he's going to do, because this thing is like right down Teddy's throat.
I didn't know whether he was going to sort of hoik that out, or whether he was going to just disconnect it.
Or maybe he was just going to squeeze it.
Whatever it was, I'm sure there's probably like alarms set up that would have maybe notified nearby nurses that somebody was doing something nefarious there. I
think the NHS level we're at the moment is they just put a bell around your big toe, and if it tingles, then you're awake.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we've seen this. This is kind of a classic soap scene, isn't it? Some guilty party. Somebody finishing someone off in the hospital. It reminded me a little bit of... what was his name? John Mitchie played him, and he killed Sunita. Carl Monroe. He offed her in the hospital bed, didn't he? But I can't remember how he did that. Did he strangle her, or did he suffocate with a pillow or something? Usually a good old pillow move. But yeah, I don't know whether he could have actually done anything there. But he was caught up in the moment. He probably didn't think it through properly. Jenny comes in anyway, and Stephen stops, and and Jenny says, "I've heard that coma patients can hear everything you say." Stephen looks panicked again. Oh my God. Adam and Sarah find Stephen in the pub later after they've left the hospital. And Adam's like, "Call 6 fellas. You need to call 6 fellas." Jenny gets a phone call from the hospital, and they say Teddy's still stable, and if he makes it through the night, there's a good chance he will recover. So Stephen calls 6 fellas out the back of the pub, and it turns out the moped wasn't insured. So Stephen threatens to take them to court, but they're like, "No, we'll give you £10,000 if you shut up." And he says, "Great, I'll have it by the end of the day tomorrow." And then he's going to leave the UK for good, he says. Right. So Stephen crashed his motorbike because he was trying to escape a lane. He tells Adam that a 6 fellas motorbike drove into him, and that's how he got his injuries. When Adam went to take them to court or sue them or whatever it is that lawyers do, he was under the impression that a motorbike had driven into him. But now they're saying the motorbike that you were driving wasn't insured. I don't think this is that far-fetched. I think what's happened is they've realised they're in a bit of bother. If they go to court, they're going to get in as much trouble as Stephen would do, because they haven't been on the up and up. So they're just giving him money to get rid of this situation. Yeah, I know. I just think it's a little bit convenient. Of course it is. For the plot that this moped wasn't insured, and that's different though from saying you don't understand what's going on. No, I understand it. I think I understand it. I just think it's a little bit too convenient for Stephen that all of this has entwined its way all very nicely for him. Also, I kind of got the impression that 6 fellas was a bit of a, not a massive franchise or anything like that. I would be surprised if they could just throw £10,000 around willy-nilly, but I guess you'd be surprised how much it costs when you get taken to court. I guess so. So anyway, things are looking up for Stephen, and he's soon going to be out of the show, or so he thinks. Saturday, Gemma, New Year's Eve. He's reminding 6 fellas he wants his money today, and he says to Jenny he can't come with her to the hospital because he's got some plans he can't get out of.
Then he calls Sarah and Michael to the office, and he
Not to the cafe. to the cafe, which is the go-to office for many a character on Coronation Street.
And he says, right, I really believe in you and your business idea. Here's a list of potential suppliers so you can get started and stuck in.
He kind of got all a bit teary on that scene, and then they didn't play into that anymore, did they? What was going on there?
He's probably relieved. He's thinking, I'm getting out of it. And so he's being magnanimous because he can see the end in sight.
I think, like, he doesn't hate his family either, does he? I don't think it is an easy thing for him to do, to swindle them, especially Sarah Louise.
If you think about the fact that he's worked with Sarah for years and obviously has affection for her because she's his niece, you know, he would want to see her thrive. Why would he not?
Yeah.
Tim surprises Sally with a fancy breakfast and she's very impressed.
Oh, is this the same story? I'll put it in the notes for this, but I don't know whether this is actually the same story.
No.
I'm going to say it's not.
Money arrives in Stephen's account and he starts to book plane tickets, and then Jenny comes into the pub and she's all upset. She's like crying stuff. She's going, I've had the most horrible news. The swelling on Teddy's head has gone worse. He may be brain dead and he might never wake up. And Stephen's like, get Brandy, let's get her in the back room. And she gets sat down with a drink and she's like, how am I going to tell Leo if Teddy's died? And Stephen's like, before he got knocked down, Teddy told me he saw Leo in Canada and Teddy and Leo had a fight and Leo told him he didn't want anything to do with him or you ever again. And Teddy's like, why didn't you say this before? And he's like, never mind that.
He's like, I didn't. No, I think he said, I thought that Teddy might come round again and it wasn't my story to tell.
That's right, he said it wasn't my place, which I guess it wasn't.
I thought that was very quick thinking.
But Jenny says, thank you very much for looking out for me. Elaine's a bit miffed because she wanted to have a drink with Stephen in the pub and Stephen's ditched her for Jenny. But he joins them and apologises and says, I'm going to be here for New Year's Eve and I feel like I finally have something to celebrate. Don't ask me what it is.
Yeah, so he pulls out on buying his plane tickets and his exit the UK strategy because he thinks that everything's coming up Stephen now, doesn't he? Well,
the thing is, if this all carries on going to plan, he's free and clear, isn't he? He can stay in the UK, he's got his job, he's got his money. And, hunky-dory. So it's the countdown, it's midnight, everyone's in the street looking at the fireworks, and Coronation Street did a good job. The fireworks, they were real.
They did have real fireworks this year.
Well, if they're not real, they did a better job than normal.
They did a better job than that awful Twinkling
Star last week. Michael, they're saving the money for the CGI for something else.
They have, that's right. They couldn't do CGI fireworks because they needed some for the final scene. I appreciate it. I did like the midnight scene because they had like little groups of characters. Like Stephen starts off, he's talking to... is he talking to Elaine first or is he talking to Jenny? I can't remember. He talks to Jenny first and he gets peck on the cheek from her. Then he goes and stands next to Elaine. But the camera kind of scrolls past other people. Like Evelyn's there, isn't she?
Yes.
She hadn't appeared in the episode and we didn't know what was going on with her. But there was also like a nice little bit of George standing next to Glenda saying, I'm so glad you're here, sis. So it was lovely. And... Dirk, I was eagerly watching everything that Dirk was getting up to on the New Year's Eve episode because he was standing around in the pub with the Coney party hat on his head, wasn't he? And it seems like he's pulled at the end of the episode. He's
running off. He's got
a woman on his arm during the countdown, and then he's kind of skipping around the street, dragging this woman off to who knows where. So yeah, as a Dirk watcher, I did appreciate that.
Yes. So he stands next to Elaine and he says, Happy New Year. I have a feeling it's going to be a good one. But then we cut, don't we? It's not the end of the episode. We cut to the hospital and Teddy's there unconscious and we see his hand twitch and then his eyes burst open. And just in case you wondered if he is alive or not, because sometimes as people open their eyes when they're still dead, we see the...
It's the ECG readings or whatever it is. I don't know what it is. The heart
the line on his eyeballs, which the thing is, those weren't ever flat anyway because he wasn't dead. So what was the point? I hated that so
I
much.
absolutely hated it. Why?
Whoever did that, whoever's
made them
idea,
decide to
please
do that?
don't do that again. It's like being spoon-fed. It's like we understand. Do you really think that the viewers wouldn't get that he was awake when his eyes opened? What was the purpose?
It's clearly just for dramatic effect, but it just feels like somebody behind the scenes at Corrie was like, "Oh, do you know what would look really smart? Is if we decided to put this in his eyes, and it doesn't. It just looks stupid.
It looks like a cheesy Hollywood film from 1962.
It really, really did. I mean, forgetting the fact that he wasn't lying opposite the monitor, so there's no reason that the readings would have reflected in his eyes anyway.
It wasn't actually a reflection, was it? It was literally symbolism. It was literally the symbolic.
He's alive.
It's a symbolic projection. And Coronation Street has started doing a bit more dipping their toes into fantasy. And this, to me, was a fantastical thing, wasn't it? It wasn't based in reality.
No.
We've had, Rick Nealon appear as a ghost to Kelly, and that was symbolic. He was the manifestation of her guilt and her thought processes, because she didn't have anyone to talk to, and that was quite clever. But
that was effective.
But if that is going to be, if we're going to start going down the more surrealist kind of ways of telling a story like that, you got to stop now, because this is a soap.
You've got to be careful about it, but it's when they use CG to do it that it really gets my goat. Because Rick Nealon appearing over Kelly's shoulder, you say, okay, it's a ghost, that's quite and everything, but to watch it was still just a dramatic scene.
Can I also add, there was also a narrative reason for it.
Yeah.
This was completely pointless.
It's just like, look what we can do.
There. It wasn't even that impressive, because anyone could do that.
I could have knocked that up even. So there was that. There was the shooting star last week. It's just you got to stop at Coronation Street. Honestly, I appreciated the end of year dramatic scene, and that, to be fair, is something that Ian McLeod's Coronation Street has been quite good at doing, because like last year, if I remember him rightly, the very final scene kind of came out of nowhere a bit, and it was Abby visiting Imran in his office and saying, "I think I'm up the duff." And no, it didn't really. Well, no, it did go somewhere eventually, but it took a little while to get there. So that was a cool final twist of the year. And then I think in the previous year, as the clocks told 12, it was Faye announcing to, I don't know, I'm going to say Craig, that it was her what bopped Adam on the head with the bottle. So it seems like this is something that Ian McLeod quite likes to do, of having a final scene of the year being a mega twist. And it has kind of left me with I don't know where this is going to go now, and I want to find out. This is what an end of episode cliffhanger should be, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's just, a character saying, "Oh, but what are we going to do now?" giving a worried look, and then the music starts playing. But so this was a fine final scene. They really, really, really didn't need to do that stupid thing with the eyes, and they've got to stop it. It's tantamount to. It's on the same lines of putting in the silly music for no particular reason. But anyway, a little bit confusing, because only a few hours before, the doctors had told Jenny he could be brain dead, but it seems like he's fine now. I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Because I have got absolutely no idea. I've not seen any spoilers. I very much doubt that there have been any spoilers about it, because it seems like they wanted to be a bit of a surprise twist. Do you think that Teddy will be okay? Will he remember anything? Will he remember what Stephen was whispering to him? What's he theorising?
I think what's going to happen is Stephen's going to panic, and he's going to try and get to the hospital as soon as he can to see.
So is Jenny going to get phoned up by the hospital to say that he's come round?
Yes, and perhaps they'll be necking on the sofa or something. I don't know whether she's forgiven him or not, but they'll rush to his bedside, and there'll be a cliffhanger where Teddy looks at Stephen and he says, I
remember something about you.
I remember what you did. And then it's going to be, you pushed me in front of the car, and everyone will be like, no, Teddy, that's not what happened. You were drunk. And they'll be like, oh, okay. And then it will seem like he can't remember anything, but then his memory will start coming back.
What, over in tonight's episode, or over the course of weeks?
I just don't think. I think he's got away with this. I don't think Teddy's good. I think Teddy's a red herring.
So do I.
I think that
he's a Ted herring.
Yeah, I'm convinced now that there was a reason why Coronation Street made us know that Elaine gave Stephen a clue to her online banking password, and that is going to come up somehow, and I can't think of a way it's going to come up without her being bumped off.
No, I know. That's what I think. And I really liked my roof box theory on the top of Audrey's car that Elaine's going to be crumpled up inside at some point.
He can buy
I don't know
a second-hand car now because he's got a £10,000.
Has he got 10,000 or has he got 22,000?
No, because I think he did give the money to. There's no reason to keep that money now because it's going to ruin his. He doesn't want the money. He wants to cover his tracks, doesn't he? He doesn't need the money now because he's got the other money from.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. But he does have a job in the factory now, and as we all know, as soon as you get a job in the factory, the first thing you do is ask for an advance on your wages.
Yeah.
So maybe you'll have a little bit more soon. But
What's wrong with buying a second-hand car?
No, nothing. That seems fine. Maybe they're going to get his car and zoom to the hospital and beat Jenny there today.
Yeah, maybe.
I think you're right. I think that to have Teddy wake up and reveal that Stephen admitted that he murdered my son, which he didn't. He sort of almost did. That's going to be like, well, that's the end of him then. And I think that Coronation Street has got no intention of ending this storyline anytime soon.
Not while Gabrielle and Elaine are alive, because I swear, I'm so surprised that Gabrielle didn't turn up.
Yeah, and something that we didn't mention last week, when we were talking about Gabrielle sitting in the car and all the rain was going next to her and everything. That was a right wheel drive as well that she was sitting in, right hand drive or whatever it's called. So unless she's got a funny backwards car over in Italy, she was definitely in the UK when she was making that phone call.
So why hasn't she turned up?
I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I think. I think that Teddy's going to not remember anything.
I tell you here's my prediction. I know this is not the prediction show, but this is my prediction. Gabrielle is going to end up in a conversation, a confrontation between her, Stephen, and Elaine, and this will be when Elaine blurts out that she's been controlling Stephen. Gabrielle's been controlling Stephen.
Yeah.
And this is when she will directly be confronted with this rumour that he spread about her, Gabrielle.
She'll be like, no, I'm not.
Yeah, and she'll either, she'll try to run or something, or go and put the record straight. And once he's realised that she's going to do that, he'll have to kill her.
Yeah, that could work for me.
Because there's definitely, we've had their cards marked for a long time, those two, and I think that there's definitely. Do you think he could kill both of them at once?
He could do. I mean, he could kill one of them, and the other one sees it, so he has to bump them off as well.
No, I'm thinking
Phelan style with Andy and Vinny.
Go on.
What about the fact that if Teddy's not going to remember things, like, is it going to be a conveniently, the bits that he doesn't remember? Because there's lots that he could remember. Like, he could remember Stephen whispering over him. He could remember what happened at the time that he stepped in front of the car. He could remember the fact that he went to Canada and he didn't see Leo. He could remember the fact that he found out that Leo didn't go to Canada. So it seems like, and I know that Coronation Street does like to do this, it's going to be very convenient if he happens to forget all of those useful bits of information. Where's his memory, his handy soap amnesia, going to take him back to?
Here's my idea then. He wakes up, he can't remember anything, and then he just dies because his condition worsens.
Maybe. I mean, it could well be that he's awake, but just,
can't speak.
still rather vegetative. Yeah.
I don't know whether people in comas who are brain dead open their eyes and look about.
I don't know. They do on Corrie, let's say. It's just not very. I don't want him to be speaking at all, really, because I think I need this Stephen storyline to go on for a bit longer.
Relearn everything, like how to walk and talk and.
Yeah, and it could well be that he can't remember anything now, but when they want to draw the storyline to a conclusion,
they'll be
however many months' time, Teddy's just remembered. Yeah.
Do you want to say anything? Have you remembered anything? He's like, I wasn't going to say anything, but yeah.
Yeah, and as for Stephen, I don't know. He still seems to be getting quite close to Jenny, doesn't he? Mm-hmm. That seems like it's genuine. He doesn't seem that interested in Elaine. She's the one that's fallen over him, isn't she?
Yes.
So I still like the idea of Stephen getting behind the bar of the Rovers just for a little bit.
Yep.
Um,
He's the other thing to bear in mind too with Elaine is that now she said the house is too big for me, right? She's living in in the north. She's living in Manchester or in Salford, and the house prices in that area are actually seem to be a lot higher than the rest of the north, don't they? Because it's a popular place to live.
because it's proximity to Manchester.
It's not like super cheap chips houses up there, as people like to say. So how much is she sitting on in her bank account? What is in that pot? It's going to be 300 grand, I reckon, at least. And she's going to need a lot of that to buy another house. But is that going to be too much of a temptation for Stephen? Is he going to try and grab more cash?
Well, that's what I thought was odd last week.
Is Gabrielle going to turn up again and say, I want more money. I know what you've been saying about me. I've heard you've been spreading rumours and you give me hush money now.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I did say last week on the podcast it was odd how Stephen was trying to get away from Elaine because he was more interested in Jenny. But I think like you're right, there's definitely more financially that could be gained with him lurking around Elaine a little bit.
Well, this is why it's an interesting dilemma here, because he fancies Jenny, but he wants Elaine's money, so he has to suck up to both. Well, he has to suck up to Elaine, and he can't alienate her by pursuing a relationship with with Jenny, even though that's what he actually wants.
I feel bad for, because there's clearly, I mean, a lot of people, a lot of viewers aren't enjoying this story, and I get it, but I kind of feel bad for those people because it seems like it's going to be running for quite a lot longer, and I'm hearing all of the criticism that's being levelled at Stephen and being levelled at Todd Boyce and about that he's not a particularly effective baddie. And I get it to some extent. I do. I mean, he's
That's because you've never met him in the dark down an alley. That's what I'm saying.
He's not going to go down, I think, as one of Corrie's best, most intimidating villains. Even when he was craning over Teddy in the bed there, trying to be all shady and everything. He wasn't great, but I think it's mostly just the type of story that this is what's keeping me hooked rather than the brilliantness of Stephen, because he's clearly no Richard Hillman. He is no Pat Phelan, is he? And I don't think he's got the comic ineptness of John Stape either. He's somewhere in between that doesn't quite work. So I'm more into it for the story rather than the characters, I suppose, which is bad because it's supposed to be all about the characters. But anyway, what do you think? Is Stephen as an effective villain? Are you kind of hearing the criticism that's being levied against him? Do you kind of feel it as well?
No.
You think he's all right?
The point of Coronation Street is not to create scary villains that you'll be terrified that could, kill you in real life. It's about the villains on Coronation Street are always pathetic, aren't they? There's always something pathetic and grovelly and desperate about them because you watch their descent into criminality from the beginning, and it's always driven by some kind of need, isn't it? So it's usually financial, and Stephen fits very well into the evil businessman trope of Coronation Street that is created over the years. So I don't need him to be like the Terminator. I prefer a villain like this and I also think that they're quite scary because, Stephen, if he gets cornered, he'll do anything. He'll kill you. He may look like a bit of a pathetic, snivelling guy because he's, whining on about not having any money and doing his small beans fraud stuff with people, but he'll kill you.
Yeah, but he wouldn't do it on purpose.
Do you not? But that's always what happens.
I don't know.
Will you listen?
Yeah.
That's always what happens to Coronation Street villains. They always start off the accidental death, and then it escalates. And this is, I guess, what it would be like if these were real people. Mm-hmm. You start off, you push the boundary every time. Every time you push it further and further until it becomes commonplace to you, and it's not as big of a deal.
I just like I would like him to be a little bit more sinister, but I'll take him as he is. It's partly it's the voice, and a lot of people are making fun of his voice and saying I just can't take him seriously with that accent. That doesn't particularly bother me,
It
but
doesn't bother me at all. I think it's great.
I did find it funny when they had that factory scene when he's talking with the girls there, and then was it Beth and Sean making fun of his accent afterwards, and is it Beth saying, "Oh, Sally, you're such a lifesaver"? So he's clearly, you know, the fact that his voice and everything has been mocked by the factory girls means we're not supposed to be taking him fully seriously.
I don't think anyone expects me to be faced with a murder storyline on Coronation Street and turn around and go, I don't like this. I think it's too dark. I think it's far fetched, etc., etc. This is my favourite sort of storyline on Coronation Street. I'm fully on board. I love the fact that he's the villain. I just love it. I want to see him kill again. We were so close, and but I kind of want him to kill somebody that people like.
Well,
that will be a big test, because he killed Leo. Nobody cared about Leo. He was going to kill Teddy. Nobody cares about Teddy. Would people be upset if he killed Elaine?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm desperately trying to avoid spoilers. They're all over the place at the moment. And I'd seen that something was going to happen with Teddy on that Thursday episode, because I'd seen like a half of a sentence that says Stephen looks over Teddy's unconscious body or something. So I kind of built.
Where are you seeing this?
I don't even remember. But I kind of built up in my head something a lot more dark and sinister and exciting than what actually happened.
Well,
and obviously I thought that he'd been responsible for it. Yeah, I know, it's totally my fault. So it was a bit of a shame that it was just stepping in front of a van, like, you know, because Coronation Street has done that in the past, haven't they? There was Duncan, that evil guy that sent Sally to prison. He ended up stepping out in front of a van in a similar surprise. But yeah, I hope he's gonna actually take some divisive action soon, and then just do it.
Here's my question: is Jenny in danger?
I don't think so. I'm enjoying that she's being strung along for the ride. Jenny needs to be in the storyline. She desperately needs it, and so to have Stephen there as part of that storyline, yeah, I'm all for that. Okay, let's move on to the next story then. So this is the Todd one that you said you weren't so interested in, and it's kind of on the back of the sofa stuff from last week.
See, this is the funny thing, right? This to me is like the antithesis of this Stephen storyline. It couldn't be more different, right? But this is the sort of thing I just can't be bothered with, and but I guess this is the bread and butter of soaps. And is this what people want to see?
But there was a murder involved in this storyline as well, potentially.
I know, that's the most interesting thing about Laurence, is that he might have killed his wife.
But I don't think he has.
But if he has, he's done it in a very stupid way, because he's managed to kill a millionaire heiress and not get any cash out of it.
But no, I thought he did. I thought he has.
Did he?
Well,
Don't forget, Michael,
is Todd's theory.
There were great swathes of this show I was unconscious for at various points without meaning to.
No, Todd has brought up the idea that Laurence bumped Lindsay off so that he could get some of that sweet life insurance money.
Of course, but he hasn't seemingly got that money, has he?
I don't
haven't seen any evidence of that.
No, well, I don't know. He's not opened his checkbook yet.
That wasn't my point.
Okay, right. So I actually find myself enjoying this a lot more than I thought I would, and not necessarily because of the whole murder mystery bit of it either. But let's see what happens. So, Todd, Sean and Laurence and Dylan have come back from the Peak District, having had a lovely trip there. Todd's like not interested at all about it because he's still got the hots for Laurence, hasn't he? And he ends up winding left alone in the house with Laurence later on. And Laurence says, look, we need to have a chat. I've got a feeling that you're not my biggest fan, and I want to change your mind about it. So Laurence at this point just seems to think that Todd's got a problem with him, rather than what seems to be the actual truth, which is that Todd has got a problem with him going out with Sean when he wants him himself. And Todd kind of agrees to sit and have this chat with him, and they get on with like a house on fire. And Todd's like, oh, maybe we should open a bottle of wine. So he's done this before to other guys. He's got his heart set on, what's the word? Somethinging Laurence.
Cheating.
He's got his feet...
Romancing. What are you talking about? Snogging?
No, that'll do.
Winning him over?
Stealing
him?
Yeah, no.
What are you getting at?
Yeah, that'll do.
Shagging him?
That'll do.
Canoodling with him?
Stop it. It's not.
Well, I've got no idea what you're trying to say.
Luring him in. I don't know. So anyway. Seducing, that's the word I'm thinking. Thank you very much. Romantically luring, seducing. And so Todd ends up going in for a kiss with him. And he does actually kiss him, doesn't he? But Laurence very quickly pulls away and is like, what the hell are you doing? I'm not a cheater. And Todd said, I just, I felt the vibe. You're the one that was coming on to me. And Laurence says, no, there was no vibe going on here. No chemistry between us. Tell you what, Sean warned me about you. This is what you do to guys. Well, I'm not having any of it, mister. I'm out of here. And Todd's Todd's left, kind of feeling a little bit silly there. And Laurence goes over to Speed Dogs. He's got a dinner with Sean there, and he ends up telling him exactly what happened. So Sean, towards the end of the episode, storms up to Todd in the Christmas market, calling him a slutbag.
I loved it. I love
what he's done, which is nice. And he says, right, you stay away from the pair of us. So things completely went off in a different direction than I was expecting in today's episode. Like, I was expecting this to be a Todd and Laurence have a secret affair sort of storyline, and it has not gone that way in the slightest.
I also love the fact that Todd's ego can't handle this, so he sets about trying to ruin Laurence because he wouldn't.
Yeah, Todd thinks I always get what I want, doesn't he? But he doesn't always.
I don't know whether it's even that conscious though. I think he's like, oh, this man, there must be something wrong with him if he doesn't fancy me. He must be twisted in some way. I need to find out what's going on with him. Who could resist Todd?
I want to know whether he had flashbacks to that time he tried to kiss Nick. Wrong move, Todd. Because that was very much the same thing, wasn't it? He was picking up on some vibes, apparently. So this is totally within his MO.
Who was it that told him his gaydar was broken?
That was Laurence.
Well, it is.
It totally is. It's probably faulty. So anyway, Thursday's episode, Todd's trying to make up with Sean. Ends up with getting his breakfast chucked all over him. Mary says, yeah, you deserve that, mister. And Todd's still insistent at this point that Laurence was flirting with him too. But Sean's like, no, not having any of this. I don't believe that Laurence would do that. This was all you. This is totally your way of doing things.
Yep, it's your modus operandi.
I am having nothing to do with you. So then we have a little scene later in the cafe with Laurence and I think this must have been Sean. I've not written it down. I assume it was. He's opening up about what's been going on with him recently. Apparently today is the anniversary of his wife's death, and he's all very sad and weepy about this. And he's like, I need to get some flowers for my in-laws, the Van Cleefs. And so he gets chatting to Mary about it, and she's all kind of caught up in the tragic romance of it all, and she's going to take the flowers to the Van Cleefs, and Sean comes in at the end, and there's a nice little hand-holdy shot between him and Laurence. Then in the pub later, Mary's going on to Rita about delivering these flowers, and she's all caught up in the excitement that she delivered these flowers to these really posh people. And Rita says, oh yeah, I've heard of the Van Cleefs quite handily. They used to publish the Gazette and things. And I remember something about their daughter, and she died in tragic circumstances. Can't remember too much about it. She should have said, oh, Mary, if you buy me another G&T, maybe that might help.
Yeah.
Help lubricate the old brain cells there. She says, it was an accident while they were abroad, and Todd's there, Earwigan as well. And then the Friday's episode, which was, as we said earlier, later that day, Todd has gone off and done a little bit of digging into Lindsay's death, and he tells George that he found out that she fell to her death during a Swiss hiking holiday.
That sounds
And
terrible.
Todd's like,
maybe she just hates hiking and she jumped.
Well, this was obviously another Christmas Day mountain disaster, like Billy falling off the cliff.
Yeah, it's easy to do.
Yeah, and old Danny Dyer going over into the water last week as well. But Todd says, this is all very suspicious. I reckon that Laurence pushed her to cash in on the life insurance.
Yeah, why not? This is a soap.
Because he realised... No, he realised he was gay, and he's got himself caught up in this marriage that he's not into. So what else would you do but push your wife off of a mountain?
I don't think you can do anything else.
No, this is what Henry VIII should have done to Catherine of Aragon, really.
Come out as gay?
No, just pushed her off a mountain. It's like, I can't get a divorce from the Pope. Fancy a hiking holiday, dear.
Do you want to go to Switzerland?
Yeah. And George says, look, don't be so stupid. This was a tragic accident, Todd. So he goes to the pub later to tell Sean about Lindsay, this wife. But Sean's like, no, I'm not interested in anything you got to say.
Whoa.
Laurence, he won't even let him say, will he? Laurence will tell me when he's ready.
Well, he says, well, Todd goes, do you want to know how she died? Because it's very suspicious. He's like, no.
No, don't want to know. You're just jealous. Laurence is my boyfriend, not yours. That's that. But Sean, the gossip monger, is like, I can't help it. I need to know the gossip, even though it's about my boyfriend. So he eventually cracks and goes into Todd's booth and to find out what happened. And he thinks that Todd's story, his theory about Laurence pushing her off the mountain, is absolutely ridiculous. He says, look, you just go around destroying people's relationships. You see a couple and destroy it. That's what we should call you, the couple destroyer. Todd's like, that's
not very
That
snappy.
doesn't roll off the tongue. Should have got Michael to help you with that one.
I preferred slut bag.
Yeah, he says, nobody wants you, Todd, you're toxic. Later on, Laurence comes round to number 11 to see Todd and says, look, get your nose out of my business. My late wife's passing is nothing to do with you or anyone else's. It's just me. So bugger off, basically. He tells Todd, you bet you've never even lost anyone anyway. And
No,
Todd's
he
like,
doesn't say that. He says, have you ever lost anybody?
yeah, he says it in a way as to say, I bet you haven't, so
I
you don't know
either.
what I'm going through. And Todd's like, well, I've been on this show for 20 years, actually, so
Yeah,
of course I
loads
have.
of stuff's happened to me.
So many deaths.
The impression I got from Laurence was he was desperately trying to connect with Todd to make him understand what he's going through, rather than trying to say, only I have ever suffered. He genuinely seemed in that moment to be kind of a nice person.
Okay.
And he was sort of saying, is there any commonality here? As human beings, can we respect each other in any sense at all? Because this is a very tragic thing that's happened to me.
Yeah, so Todd brings up the old chestnut of, oh yeah, my son Billy. Remember
That reminds
him?
me, I had a son called Billy. He died.
We like to talk about him every couple of years.
Yeah.
But yeah, he died, and that was tragic. That was before I knew that I was gay with Sarah. And Laurence says, oh, so you didn't know that you were gay straight away, did you either? And
also, you don't start going out with your boyfriend and immediately go, right, let me tell you all about my dad's son.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, I don't trust you, basically.
You're missing Laurence's point. He's basically saying, yes, I didn't tell Sean how my wife died. You go around telling everybody how your son died. It's a personal tragedy. It's got nothing to do with you. Keep your nose out. And I could tell you how my wife actually died and what happened, but I'm not going to because I don't trust you. See you later, bitch.
I would have thought that when the whole thing came out about him having been married the last month or whenever it was, it might have come up in conversation then. Like Sean might have said, what happened with her? Where's she up to? I don't know. But anyway, that was basically it. There was a little bit on Saturdays when Sean takes himself out to the back when Todd comes into the Rovers, and Todd follows him, and along with the help of little fairy godmother Glenda, they manage to make amends, and they clink glasses before the bells chime for midnight. So it's kind of a bit of a truce towards the end of the episode, but I think this isn't the last we've heard of this.
Sean should never have agreed to make peace with Todd because Todd's a snake, isn't he? I'm kind of glad that evil Todd's not too far away because Todd's really has been rehabilitated in a kind of similar way to Tracy, where you wouldn't if you watched the show now, you wouldn't know half of the backstory of that character and how manipulative and evil he is, but this really is.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Todd is evil, and certainly not as villainous as the likes of Tracy. But he is, out for number one, and he has tried to steal other people's boyfriends before. I can't remember who it was. Was it Marcus? He tried to steal before as well. Yeah, it was. He ended up bonking Marcus on the floor of that show home, didn't he? When he was going out with Maria.
So if I was Sean, I'd be like, no, I'm not going to make friends with you. What would you have done if you'd slept with Laurence? Would you have carried on cheating behind my back with him? Would you have tried to steal him off me completely? Like Sean's had just so much trouble trying to find love, and he found a guy that he likes, and then Todd comes along and he thinks just because he fancies him, he's got the right to steal him off. He's like, Todd's never developed sense of morality, and he's never developed as a person to stop doing this. Why would you trust him?
He has shown glimpses of it. Like you said, he's not been in recent years quite so manipulative
Only because
as
he hasn't had a
been.
reason to.
I thought that this was kind of refreshingly magnanimous of Sean. Actually,
No, he's a sucker.
he is a bit of a sucker with it. But what do you think Todd's going to do now? Is he going to start going after Laurence again?
I wonder if he's going to uncover something else that he didn't, that Laurence doesn't want him to find out.
Maybe
That's
because
unrelated to.
I don't buy that Lawrence pushed
hasn't killed
Lindsay off the mountain. No. And to be honest, the fact that Todd jumped to that conclusion, it seemed a bit suspicious anyway. It's like, I don't think that you would naturally think of that. Was he just looking for a reason to?
I think he's just trying to create drama.
Or was he trying to save face? Like he got shamed.
Yeah.
Because he was expecting to Laurence to reciprocate. He didn't. So he was left with egg on his face. So he was just desperately trying to find something that's going to make Sean suspicious of Laurence. But no, I liked how Sean forgave him. It was quite nice. The whole of the New Year's episode that wasn't to do with Stephen being loitery was kind of pleasant, with all the end of year celebrations and everything, and the making fun of Sally for having her wheeze out in the street and everything last week, and this was similarly, it just like made me feel okay, that's quite nice. But I think Todd would be quite stupid to pursue Laurence because he's clearly showed he's not interested. But I don't know whether he's going to be like, nobody turns me down and try again, or do you?
I don't know.
But yeah, I was honestly, when a couple of weeks ago, if you were to ask me what's going to happen with these two, I'd have said that they would, well, I probably did say, that they'd be at it on that sofa on Christmas Day, and Laurence is going to have a secret affair with Todd. But I think it was fantastic that they made him say no. And up until this week, I was fairly opinionless towards Laurence. And yeah, some of what he did this week made me actually like and respect him as a character a lot more.
Makes me think his days are numbered.
Well, possibly. But
I think, yeah.
Like even that scene in the florist shop where he was holding hands with Sean, where they absolutely didn't need to do that, and they often don't show the nice lovey-doveyness between couples. It's all about raunchy sex and everything. And so the fact that they're building this relationship with Laurence and Sean into being something quite sweet, which Sean is very much overdue anyway, it's lovely, really. What were you going to say?
I think what's going to happen is Todd and Sean are going to stoke these paranoid theories between each other, and Todd is going to make Sean do something that will make Laurence want to dump him, and that's what will happen. Todd's going to convince Sean to like go sniffing about for some more information about this wife, and get poison in his ear about, well, why hasn't he said anything? You know, you've been close enough. It seems strange to me that you wouldn't. He hasn't said anything to you, and you know, where's all this money gone? Is he? What contact does he have with his in-laws, so and so and so and so? And then Sean's brain will start ticking, and he'll start wondering, and then he'll end up snooping somehow and get caught by Laurence, and then Laurence will be like, right, bye, I'm out of here.
Well, I don't know how much evidence that you'd actually be able to find. If somebody shoved somebody off a mountain, there were no witnesses, and he was completely, nothing, yeah. You know, there's nothing to find, is there? So, I don't know. I enjoyed this. I thought that there was a bit, I can't remember who, was it Sean said to Todd, oh, you're almost my brother, I can't believe you do this to me. And I just thought that was lovely, because they have been together as a family on and off for the last 20 years, and I thought that was nice. Anyway, better than I thought for this story. Just before we move on, there was lots of great stuff with Glenda this week, including her chat with Jenny and Daisy about which film stars that she fancied. And was it Glenda who reckoned that Benedict Cumberbatch was dirty underneath that Sherlock costume or something? But one of my favourite Glenda related things that happened this week was when Todd said to her, oh, you work on a cruise ship, do you? That's weird, you never mention it, when she starts going on about one of her cruise stories again. Thought that was quite funny.
Yes, she is quite funny.
I thought that was funny that Todd said.
Yes, fine.
Right, summer, Gemma. over to you.
You've tricked me into doing the
I've
summer
tricked
story.
you. You have to do the summer story. Yes, it is back this week.
Oh, why did she go away for longer? On Wednesday, Billy's worried because Summer's not letting... he can't get hold of this glucose information from the app.
That's kind of resolved quite quickly as I've run out of data. I guess.
Really?
Is that a thing that still happens?
Well, if she's in charge of paying for her own phone, it will be, but I don't know why she is.
No, I don't know. Anyway, but yeah.
If I was Billy, I'd be paying for her phone. If it's an important part of monitoring her medical thing, then I would be paying for it until she had a proper job. And she did have a proper job until recently, so maybe that's what happened. But how has she gone from? I presume the thing, it's just you wouldn't risk it, would you? You'd have her on a contract. Yeah. And how has she managed to cancel that contract within like a week of going?
Let's not think about that.
Right. Anyway, so he tells Aaron he can't find this information. He gets worried too. Then we find out where Summer is. She turns up at Esther and Mike's house, and she's got a little envelope with money in. She's like, "Hello, I brought you some money. It's still not enough, but it's a start." It's like, oh, shut up, Summer. You know they're going to give it back to you.
I've just had a Christmas job and I've been living in a hostel.
Okay, right.
So I turn up to your mansion.
Sit down, Summer. Here's a question for you. Are you earning more working as a Christmas job and living in a hostel than you were working in Underworld? And living rent, I don't know how much rent you pay. Is it better financially for you? No, it isn't it? You're just being dramatic and stupid, like usual. Sit down and shut up. I didn't really hear what she said. That's basically the noise that she was making. And they're like, look, if I was them, I'd be like, I don't think I want these genes in my kid. Pathetic. They say, I like this little... insight into their lives. You know what? Our Estonian cleaner had to leave because of Brexit, and I hate doing the oven. So why don't you live here and be our slave? And that she's like, yeah, okay. And Mike's like, yeah, let's get a baby in you. and it's just like, shut up, don't scare her
play your
off.
cards too soon, Mike.
There's no rush, Summer. You just clean the oven now, please.
Off you go, Cinders. We're going to the ball.
Yeah. On Thursday, of course, Esther's baking bread.
Yeah. Carols are piping in on the radio. What an idyllic scene it paints at Esther and Mike's house. And
Summer's there asking if they can talk to the sister about this surrogacy storyline. And then Billy turns up. Hooray! Turns out Friday, Esther called him and they talk about surrogacy, and everyone thinks it's a great idea except Billy. And he's like, look, we won't rule anything out, but why don't you come home with me? You don't need to stay here, do you? And Summer says, no, I've made my decision. I'm staying here and I'm having their baby. So, she goes home with Billy. She
goes back
stay with her.
No.
So she goes back with him, and Paul comes in and he senses the tension there. And Summer goes and has a bath, and Billy says she's still going on about this surrogacy, and but I'm going to pretend to be on her side so that I can try and dissuade her at a later point. So on Saturday, everybody convinces Summer to go to Amy's New Year's party because, of course, she's the life and soul of the party. It wouldn't be the same without Summer there. Can you imagine how
party don't start till Summer arrives? No,
exactly. So Billy's like, yeah, you should go. And he tells to Paul, like, maybe if she enjoys being a teenager or a young adult, she might realise that she doesn't want to get pregnant. I don't know. Or maybe he's hoping that she'll get knocked up there and it will be too late for Mike to.
Yeah, you know what these teenage parties are like.
Oh, definitely. Jacob and Aaron bringing beers to the party, and Ash is like, you should go and make up with Aaron. But then she sees another girl going to kiss him, and she's like, oh no. Aaron finds her outside and they have a little soppy reunion, and Summer says, oh, we're back together, I guess, or something, but I'm still going to have Mike and Esther's baby.
The end. They're back together again. How lovely.
Are they? Is that what happened?
Yeah, they had a snog. They had a soppy, snoggy reunion. So...
Okay, she's still doing the surrogacy. Who cares? Next. Let's move on to the next storyline. Honestly, there's nothing more to say.
Nothing much happened. She
wants to do this, and it's not clear now as to why she wants to do this. I'm not sure whether Mike and Esther have put any pressure on her beyond just saying, look, stop giving us damp envelopes of money soaked in tears and snot.
She just wants to be a do-gooder. She's fallen for their pleas, and
I just don't think she understands half of what is expected of her.
They need
and what will happen to her.
Yeah, they're doing a better job than Stephen of not giving away, not playing their cards, because he's like looks mega dodgy, doesn't he? And they're keeping up the facade a little bit better.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Roy storyline, the bad reception storyline. So last week at Christmas,
nothing in it.
This is a bit of nothing, but it feels like it's very clearly pointing towards something that's going to be happening. So he got a mobile phone for Christmas, and we just thought that was a funny thing to happen on the Christmas Day episode. But no, Nina keeps banging on about it. He goes off to help at the charity shop on Wednesday's episode, but he didn't come back for a long time, and Nina and Co are starting to get a bit worried about him. And he's like, oh yes, there was an altercation on the bus. Oh, there was people getting in fights, and then the bus driver was getting involved, and somebody was tweeting something or other, and he's like, sorry, I didn't contact you to let you know. And she's like, if you'd had your mobile on you with you, Roy, you could have told me this. We could have sorted it in seconds, and I'd have known where you were. And I know how you feel about phones and everything. And he's like, yes, they turn people into zombies. And she says, look, you're just being pig-headed about this, Roy. You get your phone up and running, mate. Thursday, she's still mad at him, and she can't understand. She said, the thing with you, Roy, is that you're usually really interested in science and technology and stuff. Why aren't you into smartphones? Can't you see how much easier life with a phone would be? And he's like, no. He's just totally stubborn about this. And in fact, he then re-gifts it onto Sam, which obviously the very moment that he's handing it to Nick is when Nina comes into the cafe and finds out what he's doing.
Rude.
Yeah. Friday, still banging on about phones, saying, Roy, you're tiresome and pompous. But and then she reminds him, don't forget about your bat watching thing you're going to tomorrow.
He's not in the WhatsApp group.
He's not in the bat watchers WhatsApp group, no, isn't he?
Well, why doesn't he put it on his laptop?
Yeah, that's a very good point. You can just do WhatsApp on your laptop, can't you? And Saturday, there's this thing about Roy saying he's got a secret and he's going to reveal it tonight. And I thought this was going to be something like a huge secret that, I wonder whether this has been put in the synopses. I wonder whether this is going to be a massive revelation for Roy that's going to kick off a Roy storyline for the new year. But it just turns out that he's been studying for his volunteer bat roost visitor qualification for the past few years. And I think everybody sitting around the table in the booth were just as let down by this revelation as the viewers were. And that's kind of it. That all that happens with Roy, isn't there? Where are you on this? Do you think that he's in the right to say no, I don't want a phone, or do you think he's been a bit too ungrateful?
If it's starting to impact on the quality of life of other people, that you refuse to avail yourself of a modern convenience, then yeah, I think you're a bit out of order.
I think he's got every right to say no, I don't want a mobile phone, and it's only impacting on the lives of people that that he's near to, because the storyline dictates this way. I mean, clearly this is leading up to a story where there's something mega dramatic that's going to happen, and if only Roy had his mobile phone, and then he'll maybe realise, okay, maybe I will have a mobile phone. That's obviously what's going to be going on here. But I just think he was being a massive arse, like not giving it the time of day and saying, no, I don't even want to try it. Gifting it on to somebody else straight away afterwards. It's just bloody ungrateful, I say. It's
very rude, and his arguments don't make sense either. He's saying, it turns you into a zombie. I stand here and I watch everybody in here and they're just sitting on their phones and not talking to each other. It's like, well, don't do it that then.
Yeah.
You're in charge of how you use your own phone.
Phones can be a force for good, like they can be glucose monitors and things. I'm sure there must be. I can't remember. He said that there was some kind of astrology app or something that when he was passing it on to Nick, he said, there's an app on here about the stars that Sam might be interested in. I just think he is being utterly pig-headed about it. But yeah, he's got every right to it. But he's just being really nasty to Nina. But I suppose it does fit with Roy's personality that.
He doesn't realise.
He doesn't realise what he's saying, and that he's being quite so rude about it. But anyway, I guess this is going to be leading to something very soon. I did appreciate the scene that they had with him phoning up Nick. Every time Roy picks up a phone, I'm like, they better have him say who it is. It's Roy Cropper. And they did it. And even at the end of the phone, because doesn't he leave a message for Nick or something? And he ends the conversation saying, it's Roy Cropper, by the way. So that was funny. I also enjoyed the bit where he was talking about his favourite film being Doctor Strangelove. And he does the "gentleman, you can't fight in here. This is a war room" quote. And he's like, oh, most amusing. I thought that was funny. Gemma, you obviously want to move on to the next storyline, so what's Peter and Carla been up to? And this does kind of also include stuff with Sally as well. I didn't really know where to put this, but what have we got next?
Thursday. Sally's still in Carla's bad books because Sarah dubbed her in the other day about talking about Carla behind her back. And so Sally tries to brown nose a little bit, but it doesn't get her anywhere. And Carla calls Sally to the office. He wants to talk to her at 4 o'clock. And then Peter says, I'm working on New Year's Eve because it's more money. And she's upset and she wants to be wined and dined. And he's like, well, it's a bit of a tough day for me, so I want to work. On Friday, which is the same day, Sally comes to see Carla with a tail between her legs, and Carla's trying to get to the truth about what she's been saying about her behind her back. And Sally says, well, maybe I said you were ruthless, but that's a quality, isn't it? And Carla says, okay, well, you can go, but don't talk about me when I'm not around ever again. And then Sally does this weird little bow.
She does a little Liz Truss-esque.
Kind of.
I reckon that, I can't remember when this was written or filmed or anything, but if I was them, I probably would have played more into making it like an exact copy of the Liz Truss curtsy, just for the lols. But
anyway, so she leaves with her tail between her legs, and Carla thinks this is funny because she is a sociopath, apparently. Carla comes into the Rovers later and she offers to buy Sally a fair drink. No hard feelings. They talk about New Year's Eve, and Faye's like, I'm going to an 80s night in town. And Carla's like, oh, I wish I could go to an 80s night. I'm going to be alone. Carla goes and sees Peter in the cab office, and he says, look, you moaned about it, so I got New Year's Eve off now. And she's like, hooray. And then he says, let's stay in and watch a film. She's like, what do you mean? And he says, I don't really want to go out being surrounded by alcohol all night. And she says, oh, fine, yeah, whatever, we'll watch a film, all right. On Saturday, Mary's going around inviting everybody to the Rovers for the New Year's Eve party, and she comes across Peter and Carla, and Carla's like, oh, sorry, we can't come because Peter's got something big planned for the day. And in Speed Dial, Peter's going on about capitalism and how it's like inherently evil and barter systems are... He doesn't understand that a barter system is literally the precursor to capitalism, and that the reason why we have currency is because you couldn't necessarily have anything. Like, say you wanted honey off someone, but you didn't have a cow to swap, but you did have some coins. That's where it came from.
I don't think it's not that he doesn't understand.
He doesn't seem to understand that barter system is literally the precursor to using currency, and he's also confusing the use of currency with capitalism.
I think he doesn't.
Because you can still use currency in a socialist society.
I don't think he's seriously saying everybody should go back to the
rubbish.
barter system.
And it's quite funny because he's not drunk.
I don't think he's seriously saying that he thinks that the whole world should run on a barter system, but he's just kind of we've seen over the past year that this very, very kind of lefty direction is where he seems to be heading it and following the Mr. Thorne story, and I think he's just kind of having a bit of fun with it.
I don't know. He just seems to be moaning about everything without really, but you know, everyone does that.
Carla, and there's obviously the conflict there with him and Carla, because she says, "Oh, I'm all about capitalism. Me, that's basically my bread and butter."
Well, she runs a business. Of course everybody does. Anyway, so he's moaning on about somewhere in Norway or something where they swap cows for butter or something. And Carla says, if you can barter this onion bhaji up to getting a motorbike, I'll buy you the leathers. So in the pub later, he does manage to swap an onion bhaji for a pen.
Yes.
Because Brian was hungry.
Stage 1 complete.
And this reminds me of that internet thing where that guy swapped a paperclip all the way up to getting a house.
Oh, yeah. He did, didn't he?
Yeah.
So I mean, is this going to be? Is this what we're going to be seeing throughout 2023 for Peter? Do you think? I think that it could be a fun sort of
like a subplot of him just like next thing you see, he's got this pen and he's swapping it for something else.
I'd love
That'd
to
be
see.
quite funny, actually.
It seems like they're setting it up for this. It can't be just like a one-day thing, surely. But I mean, the fact that they've brought Peter and Carla back into it for this last week of 2022 makes me think that they've maybe got a proper storyline brewing. And you know, she's clearly not satisfied with the lack of excitement in her relationship with Peter and everything. So I was wondering, is she going to have an affair or something like this? Or blah blah blah. But yeah, if in the background to all of this drama, we also have
Peter quietly, bumbling along,
or just not even as part of the story. I just love it as if it was like almost a background reference. Every now and then you'd catch, it's like a Where's Wally. You'd catch Peter in the pub trading something for someone else, and maybe if they didn't even make a thing of it.
That'd be quite funny.
And at the end of the year, he's got a new house for them to live on or something.
Yeah, he wants a motorbike.
Oh yeah, his motorbike. That's the thing, isn't it? I just think that would be a really fun subplot to have. But yeah, I don't think that can be a main plot for a year. Were you getting the vibes that Carla is starting to look elsewhere, or is going to?
There's definitely this kind of incompatibleness between the two of his limitations because of his alcoholism and not wanting to be tempted, and her who's wants to go out boozing.
Yeah,
it's difficult because neither of them are wrong.
It
seems a bit stupid to sort of be dating an alcoholic and be like, where are we going for New Year's Eve?
Yeah, it felt a bit like conflict for conflict's sake, because I actually think that Peter and Carla do seem like they fit quite nicely together. They seem like a good match, and when they're hanging off each other and everything, it feels like they're properly loved up and everything, and they seem like they just kind of belong to each other. So having a storyline where Carla gets fed up and unfaithful, it's a bit, gets a bit of an eye roll. No. Gets a bit of an eye roll from me, because they seem like they're very well suited on the whole. But I don't know where else this is going to go particularly. I guess it's early days.
The only person else she would go after is Nick.
Well, she has in the past. Yeah. I mean, Nick and Leanne, he's going to be in her bad books at some point in the year, isn't he? Because of the dodgy dealings that he's getting into with Damon.
Oh, yeah.
But I think I know that Coronation Street always used to go back to those couples and partner swapping all over the Weatherfield washing machine, but I think that they have actually moved beyond that now.
Good.
And I can't see Nick and Carla getting back together again. Please God, no. What about maybe Stephen? Because he's got his he's in there at the factory, isn't he?
Brush your hand against his as you're reaching for a pen.
If he's going for money, he could do worse than looking after Carla.
Wow, but I don't know where I don't know where this is going.
No,
I wouldn't. I don't know.
You mentioned earlier in this bit that Mary was rushing around inviting everybody to the New Year's Eve party, and that line that she gives about, she says, "Oh, New Year's, my second favourite time of year." And then they say, "What's your favourite time of year?" And she says, "Lent." Anyway,
and I love that. That was really funny.
That was like the best thing that Mary's done for months.
That was the funniest thing she said all year, probably.
And it was because it was so understated.
Yeah.
My problem with Mary is how ridiculously OTT she is. And she was doing it a little bit, even during Saturday's episode, going around and saying, "Oh, welcome, you've come to the New Year's Eve party." And I was like, "Oh, for heaven's sake." But yeah, where she just says, "Lent." Anyway, and it's got so many questions about why your favourite the time of year is Lent, Mary. And that's the thing, you're not supposed to query it.
You're not supposed to. If you knew the answer, it would be boring.
Yeah. But considering Mary is all about excess and over-the-topness, you'd have thought that Lent was not going to be her thing at all. I could tell her a few things that she could give up for Lent if she needs any suggestions.
Oh, right.
Right. Finally, then, the Max storyline, which, really didn't go very far at all this past week, considering what I thought it was going to be leading up to. But David's still worried about him. Shona's saying, "Oh, no, he's going to be fine." Oh yeah, this is the weird thing, and I kind of made up a silly script for this on the Facebook group when I was writing out about it. Basically, they spin this story out a little bit on Wednesday by Spider having a secret meeting with Toya in Kitchener Street, going, "Oh, Toya, oh guess what? Yeah, Max, he's moved in with Griff. Oh, I reckon he might be in danger." And Toya's like, "Oh, he probably is in danger. Don't worry, I'm going to go and tell David about it. I know I had that conversation with him last week in the cafe where I had a little break time cliffhanger, and then I just said that Max is in danger and Griff's dodgy. I'm going to go and have it out with David now." So Toya kind of sidles up to David in the Christmas market and says, "Oh, you know what, David? You know, Griff. Oh, he's a wrong un, isn't he? Yeah. Anyway, bye." And then she goes back off to Spider at the end, and it's like, "Yeah, I've told him, Spider." It felt like
it did
there
feel
was
silly.
nothing new there. Toya, if you got something to tell David about Griff, then just come out and tell him. We didn't need a second scene of her, pussyfooting around the fact that he's a massive racist right-wing extremist. Either tell him or don't.
It's difficult because what could you do if you're in her situation?
I know that's supposed to be it, but we kind of had that scene last week. She I suppose the extra information she gives is she refers to his so-called camping injury. She's like, don't ask me how I know. Like, if I was David, I'd probably be pressing that a little bit harder. What do you mean? What do you know? And she's like, "Oh, I can't tell you." It's just like, come on. Anyway, it does the trick that he goes to find Griff at the end of the episode, and he tries to give. No, he doesn't. That was last week. Sorry, I'm confused about this. So David's just kind of left wondering about this. Spider goes back to Griff's flat at the end of the episode, and he finds him there giving Max self-defense lessons, kind of, and they're both kind of circling each other, like, no, with a pen, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's like this could be a knife.
It looked like something out of Planet of the Apes or something. and
well, Spider's like, why would you need to do that?
I've got big plans for him, says Griff. But we don't get to find out anything of what those plans were because we didn't even get to see them. What fun times they had at New Year's Eve. See, I would have thought that during all this explosions going off and the fireworks, that'd be the perfect opportunity to blow something up. But I guess.
Well, that's why we're not good enough at being racist.
Yeah. So that's it, Gemma. That was our slightly shorter Coronation Street for this week, despite it being on 4 days. What are we rating it? Did it float your boat? Was it a happy new year for you? Was Stephen's shady shenanigans enough to keep you interested? I know you did fall asleep for some of it.
It was all right week. Lots of things that should have held my interest happened, but like I said, I was just tired. You won't ever let me stop. You can never stop. So I didn't mean to fall asleep. It wasn't because it was bad. I just was so tired, and so obviously, well, it was exciting because I opened my eyes and then Teddy was getting run over by a car, and I closed my eyes and then it's the end of the episode. What happened?
Oh yeah, that was the episode that you were drifted off, wasn't it?
I was unconscious. Like Teddy.
I thought it was okay. I mean, the Stephen story had some suspension of disbelief bits in there a little bit. It didn't go quite as dark or twisty as I thought it would be. I was hoping for more of a mega revelation or something at the end of the year, and ending with Teddy opening his eyes. Okay, that's going to lead into something hopefully a bit more exciting this week. But equally, it could just be him saying, "Oh, I don't remember anything," and by the end of tonight's episode, it'll just be like, so that was a bit of a cliffhanger for nothing. I don't know, but I enjoyed that things are starting to move forward there again. Like I said, I surprised myself with how much I enjoyed the Todd and Sean and Laurence story, and everything else was just a bit of nothing really. The Peter stuff was fun but small. The Roy storyline, it seems to be building obviously to something. I don't know, but I thought it was fine. I'm going to say for this week's episode, 3.5 pulled off Tom Jones's out of 5, which is another great Glenda line of the week.
I'm gonna give it 3.5 as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 3.5 back watching WhatsApp's groups.
Fine. So it was all right. It was an all right week. I think they have skewed a little bit higher on the Facebook group. We'll find out in a minute. But characters of the week, I don't know.
My character will be Stephen.
Really? Why?
Because he's just the most exciting storyline for me, and he's the catalyst for it.
Okay. I am going to give this one to... I'm not going to go for that one. I'm going to go for... I'm going to go for Sean, actually. Surprising everybody, possibly. I thought that I like how he stood up for his man. You know, that when after Laurence told him, Laurence could have been as well, the fact that he didn't end up succumbing to Todd's charms. But when Sean kind of marched up to Todd in the marketplace and told him to stay away from his man and everything, I was like, yeah, great, good for you. But also, when he very magnanimously clinked glasses and forgave him, I thought, yeah, I didn't necessarily want the fallout between them to last for too long, and I'm sure that it's not the end of the story. So I like Sean. I gave him my character of the week this week. Fantastic.